What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls the second, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and forget the regular intro. It's too much going on in the NBA right now. To be boring y'all with the regular intro. Y'all know who we are. Y'all know how we do. Y'all know what podcast this is.
We're not that big. We might get an influx of traffic due to
you still want people to know the names. We might get an influx with all the things we got to talk about.
those two people. Hello.
For sure. No, but okay, I won't do my co-host like that. We can do shorter intros today before we hop into these topics.
I'm Ashley. I'm hinged.
Gail, also.
No.
Not at all.
We're going to be honest to the new folk coming in.
Watch when they see me in this episode. Granted, how can you be hinged during a time like this? Y'all are weird if you're hinged at this point.
Yeah, no, there's a lot that's happening, guys. Forgive our shock. Forgive us not even having words just yet, but unless you have been sleeping under a rock, by now, and definitely by the time y'all see this episode, you should have seen and heard what could potentially be not only the most random, but one of the most shocking trades in NBA history. A lot of other details involved, but mainly the Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. Shall we start with the full details of the trade just so people have the absolute full context of what's going on here?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Let's
So you're still gonna be confused.
Yeah, you're still going to be confused. You're still going to be trying to understand why this happened. But let's see. The Lakers receive Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. The Mavericks receive Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 Lakers first-round pick. And the Jazz receive Jalen Hood, Shafino, 2025 Clippers second-round pick, and 2025 Mavericks second-round pick. Yeah, thoughts on this one, guys? Thoughts on this one?
Ooh, I've been waiting to say this. So juicy. I've been waiting to be excited about basketball again. What a heck of a trade. Oh my God, right under our nose, the NBA is so tea. Nobody knew that this was going to happen. And Luka is so good. I saw this tweet and it was so relatable. Luka's so good. We're treating this like AD is Hassan Whiteside going to the Mavericks. Like, that's how good Luka is. And think about that pairing with Braun. Like, oh my goodness. But also on the flip side, Kyrie and AD, that's not anything to. And then they kept PJ Washington. They kept Daniel Gafford. They kept Derek Lively. Like, the Mavericks are still the Mavericks. They've been playing without Luka since Christmas. And then you add an AD to that mix. That actually becomes kind of scary. So we can't take away from what Dallas was able to do. It looks really bad because your 25-year-old superstar, you traded him for a man in his 30s and is low-key Mr. Glass. Like, he's out too. And you say that you're worried about Luka's diet, his conditioning. He's 25. He can eat McDonald's and go out the next night and give out 35. He's 25. And my thing is, too, it's like, okay, you're trying to separate yourself in the West, but hey, they're coming. The Rockets are coming. The Thunder are coming. And right now, you're still the team to beat. You're the team that got to the finals, not those other teams. And those other teams didn't make too many moves outside of the Thunder going to get Caruso and Hartenstein. But it's like, for now, you're still that team. So why blow it up? Especially for an AD that's up in age, an AD that can't stay healthy as much as Luka can't, it seems like. So it's like, I'm going with the person I drafted. I'm going with the 25-year-old who is only going to get more mature, right? And as he matures, likely he starts to take his diet more serious. He starts to take his conditioning more serious. So why give up on that so early? I think that's where a lot of the frustration in the NBA world is lying. But nevertheless, LeBron got what he wanted, and that was like bona fide takeover, superstar, not scared of the moment. That's Luka. And when LeBron retires, the LA Lakers still have Luka to depend upon. I'm done.
What's going on? Let's talk about it. Okay, so
I've never seen
I've
Miguel.
said a lot in the last 2 days, or sorry, last game. It felt like two. It's the first time I've been at a loss of words of like.
Since I've met you.
I still like the more I talk about it, the more I try and like rationalize like where Dallas is going with it. But it's like you see AD, you know his narrative over his career. He is 30 plus big man. The math ain't mathing. Like even if you're afraid that Luka might not sign and he's like his habits are that bad. You saw they traded 6 firsts for Rudy Gobert. Like the I don't understand trade value in the NBA. I think that's what's like getting to me in this trade. It's like where's the capital? Where is like the haul? Because like granted, AD is like a haul, but it's like for how long?
Mm-hmm.
How I've rationalized is that Dallas is in like win absolutely now mode, and LA is like banking that LeBron can coach him out of his terrible eating habits and show him what it's like to prioritize your body to do this for 2 decades. Yeah, I don't know. It's bad. It's bad. The tweets at Dallas's GM, I will not say his name so that the viewers, if you don't know, you don't have to search up that name. It's just confusing. Like, I mean, family members texting me that wouldn't text me about basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling friends I haven't talked to in years, seen in years, maybe a decade, just to, you know, gauge like what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. And then now, yeah, no, we won't jump ship to the trade that just happened maybe 20 minutes before we hopped on here. I need to digest this because do they trade LeBron? That's the question that I'm. Are they trading Braun now? Because supposedly he didn't know about this. He was not in the know. Led GM was out of the room. He was at family din time, and he got the text, and he was just as shocked as the rest of the world. How valid is that statement? How valid is that? Because I've seen that a lot of people have been like, no, LeBron had to have known that this was going to happen.
I don't think he knew. I think that's a very valid statement. I don't think he knew. I
I don't
don't.
think anybody knew. I don't think
I
any.
don't think Pelinka knew.
Yeah, like I don't think this was a loud trade at all. Like
Sorry. I was stun locked for the first like 5 minutes of my portion of this. More questions. He only called LA
yeah, that's insane.
and no other teams in the NBA.
Well,
What's that about?
he wanted AD.
I don't think Pelinka even knew that this was coming. Like he probably answered the phone and was like, "You want who for what?" Yeah, like that quick.
I am the calls that Luka got before and the calls he's gonna get now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. This is very fun. I don't know what's gonna happen next. Well, I do know what happened next, but what happens after the next? It's just the first domino, and then like I said, okay, let's talk about it now. De'Aaron Fox to Sacramento, Zach Lavine to the Kings. That was the LeBron and Luka was the first domino, and then it's beginning now. So that has happened. What's the temperature on that one?
This is so tea. This is tea.
This
The
is our Super
NBA.
Bowl episode, everybody. Welcome to the Super Bowl
Yeah,
episode.
right. And then the sisterly.
We're going to label it as such because that is the big thing, but here we are. Trade deadline is among us.
Okay, what were you saying?
Does Sacramento running back Bulls 2.0 and Sabonis feel nice? Is that a decent enough upgrade from De'Aaron Fox? De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio. I mean, what are we feeling?
Like it feels good for the NBA to be back in its rightful spot as like the Real Housewives of Atlanta of old and like the best housewife franchise for us reality TV viewers. You know, like it feels great. Then for the W to be doing this thing, like basketball is juicy now. I've been missing this. This is what I needed. This is where the excitement comes in. It's so
the video of KD and them on the bench reading that trade.
Yes.
Like this was like insert historical event here. Yeah. This was like insert historical event here. Everyone was weddings were stopped, DJs were stopping the music. Sorry.
And NBA Twitter being funny again. Like the video of Beal reading the tweet and the quote being "You next." Like
no.
Now I love it. This is what
they're cooking CJ. They're absolutely cooking CJ. He's like, oh man, days like this, I just got to keep a bag packed just in case. And they're like, they're not worried about you. You're staying.
Yeah. Nobody's coming to get you, dog.
They're terrible. But no, yeah.
No. It's been a crazy weekend in the NBA. Ultimately, I think as far as Luka and AD, as far as right now in the super immediate, I think it's kind of hard to argue it being a win-win. I'm not going to lie. Like, as crazy as it is for Dallas to have felt it necessary to offer up a top 5 player in the NBA, their franchise player at that, if they are concerned about winning now, they've created a year and a half window. They've created a season and a half window to be, I don't want to for sure say they're contenders, but they have a puncher's chance in what is considered to be a wide open West. They have the experience. I think the biggest question is, can AD or Kyrie truly be your number one? Well, that, but also I don't think either of them for a long period of time have had to be a number one, and they've begun to relish in roles as a number two. So one of them is going to have to be the number one. And I think people assume it's supposed to be Anthony Davis, but whether that comes down to health, whether that comes down to him living up to the moment, we're still uncertain. I think more people might assume Kyrie would be the number one, but can a 32-year-old Kyrie be that guy? Like, he's going to have to average 30 for them to win a championship. Let's be honest. And I just don't know how sustainable that is for him. But
do y'all agree that he struggled that last playoff run? I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't know you.
That was
do y'all agree Kyrie struggled that last playoff run?
Yes.
Exactly. So I feel like there is going to be confusion on the court as far as who takes what shot in what moment. Playing through AD in theory would be the best bet. That's what was supposed to happen in LA. Like LeBron was giving the keys to LA, but it was still Bron's team. So it's like, I don't know if AD is capable of really stepping into that role. And I will say, much how we spoke about Jimmy and how he's been bouncing from team to team looking to be that guy. I think with Kyrie leaving Cleveland, with Kyrie leaving Boston, you know, all these teams. And finally, I think this is the best shot he has of really leading a team. You've got the big, you've got the role players. Now's the time to shine. So it's like, I hope he is the one that's like, okay, I'll put the team on my back. I'll be that playmaker. Obviously, he's going to be the primary ball handler and everything. So I really hope he steps up to it. Otherwise, I don't know if that narrative will ever come off of Kyrie.
Yeah, I don't think it will. And I do think this is prime opportunity, though. The amount of shots that are now going to belong to Kyrie Irving. Who knows? Maybe if his usage increases, maybe the numbers do increase, right? I think it's going to look very different. I mean, this is the first time Kyrie hasn't been playing alongside a top 10 player in the NBA in his career, for the most part, ever since he's playing.
AD is an arguable top 10 player.
He is an
People,
arguable top 10 player.
We are treating him like Hassan Whiteside.
We are.
it's because of age. It's a 6-year gap, and I think that's what makes it hard because you still have so much of potential prime with some person, and he's a top 5 player already, and you trade him for a, let's say, 3-year real rental of a championship with this person.
I don't think that it is as much the age gap as it is just the question mark around Anthony Davis, right? Like you could argue that if Anthony Davis was a bit more solidified, right, he wouldn't have got traded to begin with because LA would have wanted to hold on to him. Mm-hmm. However, if AD is going to thrive the most at the 4, then maybe it was never going to work in LA because I think LA genuinely tried to get a 5 there. I just think for whatever reason, whether it was money, whatever the case may have you, it didn't work. We saw how good AD was when he was playing with Dwight and with JaVale. So I don't think AD's production is an issue if he's in the right situation. But I think, like Ashley said, Luka is Luka, so that's why AD is being relegated to this idea of like the Hassan Whiteside. But it's also like, do we see a different version of AD now?
Yeah, I love.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, if we see that, then you got to think if AD truly is more comfortable playing the 4 and doesn't have to guard 5s all night, you may see those numbers increase a little bit. You may see him be more dominant, be able to take over later in games. And if that is the case, then Dallas very much has become an extremely scary team. And talk about the small window they have. Yeah, he's older. So, yeah, obviously, like his prime years are behind him. But I think with his skill set, he could still be serviceable for a decent amount of time, like post this season. Like, I don't think he's close to retirement, like if he's healthy. So, like, while obviously Luka is still young enough to be a franchise cornerstone, that also sets up LA. They now have a very clear vision post LeBron. And you also have a star that can handle at LA, that enjoys that spotlight. But also, I don't know this. I don't know how favorable Luka is amongst the league in terms of guys wanting to play with him. I think him and Bron kind of fall in the same boat in that regard of how difficult it can be. But I think anything, if nothing else, that will come from this relationship or this pairing with Bron and Luka, you can't tell me that Luka isn't going to just like soak up like this GOAT aura. Like he's already not in the conversation, obviously, but he's that type of player, that tier of player. If Luka is who we think he is and who he's going to be, you can't tell me that this season and next season, even if that's the last one that they play together, like you can't tell me he's not gonna walk away from that a completely different type of player. Like whether that comes down to the condition and whether that just comes down to how they see the game. LA has set themselves up for the future, and now it's just a matter of are they able to pull off any other moves that actually helps them build a competent roster. But I don't know. Time will tell, but I mean, I think both teams did what was in their vision. Dallas wanted to win now. They had a relatively complete roster and felt that AD right now, maybe this season into next season makes more sense. Crazy. But if that's where you are, that's where you are. The Lakers say, well, we got our star for the future, somebody that LeBron can mentor, but that also is already a superstar in their own right. So we would have took this even if it didn't come with everything else that it might set up for the future. So yeah,
I mean, maybe you do take conditioning and diet more serious when you have arguably the greatest player ever to touch a basketball in your ear telling you the importance of keeping up with your body. So, like, that's not far-fetched of the Lakers to feel like pairing kind of that mentorship and having Luka under LeBron's tutelage in that way would benefit them. So, I could see why you pulled the trigger. Honestly, I feel like if you're the Lakers, you'd be dumb to not give Anthony Davis and one first round pick of yours to Dallas for Luka Doncic, who's 25. 25.
talk about a fleece. My God.
Exactly. Like,
People talk about the trade packages all these superstars are supposed to warrant, and we consider Luka to be an untouchable piece. But if we letting people go for another top 20 player in the league and a draft pick 4 years down the line, I mean,
Dog,
open the gates of
Minnesota traded
hell.
half of their roster for Rudy Gobert.
yeah.
They traded Shea and multiple
Hmm.
of the Jalen Williams, right? To Jalen Williams,
Yep.
like a boatload of picks to OKC, which made their team what it is today for
Yep.
Paul George.
Yep.
And this is Luka for AD, Max Christie, and one first round pick.
Max Christie. I also have to say this, though. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you guys. So the Lakers,
So
Wendy said that the Lakers weren't done. What else do you think the Lakers need in order to really, really be scary in the West come playoff time?
Evan Mobley and Darius Garland.
Well, yes, but that would be crazy. They need
Mhm.
to be like if they didn't need one before, they definitely need one now. So with Vucevic, Valanciunas, Capella, whoever on the market, y'all need to go get a five, a serviceable five.
What
Um,
is
and if you look up and get somebody that really pulls it all together for y'all, then cool. Because ironically enough, Dorian Finney-Smith, Vando, Rui, you got Reeves, you still got a Gabe Vincent. Like it's not something that you feel the most confident in, but you got some of the pieces, right? Imagining that Bron is who Bron is going to be. Imagine that Luka is still the Luka that we know. But if you get a serviceable five that is just a lob threat or a rim protector, the West is still open. So it just comes down to okay, how great is Luka going to be? How great is Bron going to be? Does this genuinely work? But if they also were to basically be committing to just blowing up the roster as they have it, that also would not surprise me at this point. So if they were to move on from Bron too, although I just really don't see that happening unless Bronny gonna go with him. But I don't think I could not see the Lakers legit sending Bron away and leaving Bronny in LA. I just could not see them doing that.
no, I feel like LeBron has to stick it out there, but it's like that's really that is he upset that he might not be able to play for a ring with this team construction, or do they try and make it work but still try and usher LeBron into coaching Luka up into their next legacy guy? Is that his legacy that he can mold him into the next champion, even though it's Wemby's league?
I think it's hilarious that we even have to consider the possibility of LeBron being traded because Luka was just traded. Like, it's really messing with us mentally.
Nah, this is
Yeah,
insane.
old world.
Uh,
Yeah.
Unprecedented times.
And then another thing, real quick before we move on, I think a sleeper is the fact that the Lakers get Kleber. Like, they needed a shooter, and him being coached under one of the best shooters in league history and JJ Redick, I think that's a sleeper. I think he'll come alive a lot for them if they don't decide to move on.
Yeah, if they're going to be aggressive at the deadline, I could definitely see Cleveland being involved,
Yeah.
depending on what they're aiming for. And at this point, who knows what the hell is
Mhm.
going to happen? Literally anything could happen at this point. But no, if he does stay put, I think
Yeah.
him and potentially Morris, if a role can be carved out for him, they could be useful. But that team is still going to go as far as like LeBron and Luka takes them, and we just don't know what that duo looks like yet. But I will say this might be the most half court playing this offense in the
Mhm.
league. But I'll take it. I think it's still going to be relatively electrifying if you ask me. But I think this is the first time Braun won't necessarily have to have or feel the responsibility of running the show. I think he could actually, I could see him actually like, no, Luka can run the show. Like I can play off ball and be good. Like I'm straight. You know what I mean? And that may make a huge difference in terms of him being able to garner up energy for a deep postseason run, like whatever the case may be. So yet to be seen, but a lot more still in the air. But yeah, I guess moving on from that trade, focusing on the De'Aaron Fox trade again.
That's wait. I just want to. I brought that up 15 minutes ago because that AD Luka trade is so crazy.
It is.
Like that. Like I was like I mentioned, it, and then we're like, still though, this
Yes.
Luka AD trade. That's how crazy that trade is.
Yeah. I sent over full terms too of this De'Aaron trade that we're about to get
Yeah.
into.
Who were the Spurs players that were involved? That's what I need to know.
Well, they kind of fleeced them too.
Yeah.
Um, So the Kings get Lavine, and the Kings also receive 3 first-round picks, 2025 from the Hornets, 27 from the Spurs, and 2031 from the Wolves, and 3 second-round picks, 25 from the Bulls, 28 from the Nuggets, and their own 2028 back. And Spurs guard City Sissoko, I think. Uh,
Okay.
Chicago gets back its own 2025 pick via the Spurs, along with Zach Collins and Trey Jones and Kevin Herter. In addition to Fox, San Antonio receives Jordan McLaughlin.
Wow. Wow. Wait. So they only gave up Zach Collins and Trey.
No,
Hmm.
San Antonio fleeced.
Hmm.
What? What did the Bulls get? Wait.
They got Kevin Herter and Trey Mann.
They got Kevin Herter, Trey Jones, and Zach
No.
Collins.
Trey Jones, like Tyus Jones's brother?
Yes.
Yes. Wait,
Or
Spurs
De'Aaron
get
Fox?
De'Aaron Fox. They didn't even lose Keldon Johnson. They didn't lose.
Or Champagne? Remember we were talking
They
about
didn't lose. They didn't lose Champagne. They didn't lose Vassell. They didn't lose Keldon Johnson. They didn't
they
lose
didn't lose
Castle.
Jeremy.
They didn't lose Jeremy. They kept all of their young pieces. San
Oh,
Antonio fleeced.
whoa.
They're solidified. I think Fox alone solidifies
Hmm.
them in the play-in. Like he
I,
definitely
I don't even think it's he's playing, Steve. I think it's above that. I think they're
by
top.
this season. By this
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. If
That
they
might
make the play,
be that race is tight. So I mean, I guess if they was to string off a couple win, I guess I'm just considering they got to get that. They still got to feel each other out, get that chemistry. They got to see what this is gonna look like. So I think for this season, they get into the play in, and they might still make it to the playoffs. But next season, oh boy,
I
They
was
kept
so
their
worried.
whole team.
I was so worried because I am, Chris Paul's there,
Oh my gosh.
Wemby's there, and I felt that the team chemistry was like really good, and I was afraid that they were going to get rid of someone like vital. And I think last year Trey Jones was vital, but having Chris Paul there, that was enough. And De'Aaron Fox is definitely going to compensate for that. Zach Collins is like a good big for them, but you have Wemby and you have mobile bigs in Jeremy Sohan and Keldon Johnson. No, this is fantastic. This is
Yeah, they're 7 games out of that 6th seed. The
They're
Clippers.
doing the LA. They're doing the Luka to LeBron, the Chris Paul to De'Aaron Fox to make him a better point guard. This is
Yeah,
Oh,
that's.
my God, that's crazy.
Mm.
yeah. If we're looking at the CP effect and we're looking at what happened with Shea, we're looking at, like obviously what he's doing with Wemby, but what he probably will be able to do for De'Aaron Fox as well. And then
Come
you
on,
have Fox and Wemby really be able to potentially ride off into the sunset here. I mean,
and Bam,
defensively. First of all, let's talk about this team defensively because you already wasn't getting nothing at the rim. Now you actually got a ball hawker on defense.
come on. You could have Chris Paul off the bench.
They're going to terrorize people. When they figure it out, they're going to terrorize people.
Stephon Castle. They kept Stephon Castle.
Yep, Stephon Castle.
This is insane. This is insane.
Obviously.
And Bam Adebayo was trying to tell De'Aaron Fox or whoever he was. You're gonna have a coach that pushes you, and you might not like it all the time, but play with me. No, I get to play with Wemby. Oh my God! And Jimmy Butler's still stuck.
So much more can happen. I think like we heard whispers about Fox, so that's not as shocking. But as far as looking AD, do you all think that this will prompt other major stars to be potentially moved before this trade deadline that we didn't necessarily think were going to be on the table beforehand? Like, do teams or franchises start kind of looking at like, well,
Minnesota needs to get desperate.
they absolutely do.
So
Dude,
I'm not saying AE is on the block, but I'm saying maybe they land someone that we didn't particularly think was available. I don't know.
I could definitely see them moving on from Julius Randle if there's even a market out there for him. But I
I
don't
was
think
going to say that stock is really cooked.
it's just
That's
talk about
well,
well done.
yeah, yep.
So I don't know. But I'm not really sure who else. Like, I don't think there were any other stars that were really anticipated to be on the move. But I mean, at this point, I don't know. Like,
Could be anyone.
Does Phoenix stay put? Like, do they do something to kind of make them a more formidable roster going into the postseason?
They have to do something, but please no, not us. Just not
All
us.
right.
It's
I
not
mean,
us.
maybe you do. If the driving factor for the Mavs was we don't know if he'll resign. First of all, you don't operate off of assumption. You figure out if he's going to resign. That's the type of player. But maybe they do operate off the fact of is Giannis going to resign? Like, I don't know.
I think the Bucks have enough time because Giannis signed his extension. So the Bucks
Yeah.
have at least, I think, through next year
Mhm.
before he has his next player option, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% sure on that math, but I think it's through at least next year. Um, I'm not sure if Dame has a player option or what that looks like for him, but I think this, at least for Milwaukee specifically, this year is everything in regard to what Giannis decides to commit to. I genuinely think the Bucks are going to have to make, well, they're absolutely going to have to get out the first round, but I genuinely think they're going to have to make a conference finals for both of them to still be there next season.
Both of who?
Dame and Giannis. I think if something happens and we either don't get out the first round again or I mean, it had to be a really good opponent second round, and we had to put up a really good fight. But like, if we don't show some type of genuine progress of like we look like we can be champions, I think the boat gonna start to be rocked more than it ever truly has.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
this year will definitely tell a lot. But I don't know how many other teams are in that type of situation where they kind of have they're still kind of within the window with the room to experiment a little bit.
Cleveland,
But yeah, their window just started.
Mhm.
but it's also
Yeah,
fading quickly.
I
Once
mean,
again, Wemmy's league. Give it 2 years. When you get there, good luck.
I
But
just so
it's the bit for this season. We're on season what 5?
wait. So I'm glad you wait. So I'm glad you brought this up. So Cleveland's best player is clearly Donovan Mitchell, right? And their second best player is clearly Darius Garland, right? Or is it a question between him and Mobley?
Mobley, I would say.
So it's Mobley now. I don't
Like
put Mobley
they
before.
are 1-2. Like in terms of like who you say disaster draft you want players to build around. I would even say Mobley's maybe higher than Donovan Mitchell.
That's insane, Miguel.
Yeah, you're wild.
Right now, Miguel.
You're wild.
If I'm
I think he's having a great season. Miguel.
if I'm planning for 10 years, I'm going to take Evan Mobley.
Okay, if you put it in that context, looking for the future, then sure. And
Am I crazy? Am I like that crazy?
but I feel like this is the second time you've made a comment about Donovan Mitchell that's pretty much said he's a bum.
I'm not saying that he's a bum in any. I'm just saying that
You said you ain't get the hype. That's what you said.
That is what he said.
I have his shoes. He has great shoes. He's a great player. Personally, though, if I'm making a team that I want for the future, and I'm like drafting right now, it would be Evan Mobley.
That's fair. And I don't disagree from the standpoint of the future. The point I'm getting at is if Donovan Mitchell is the Cavs' best player, how often have we seen a point guard or a small guard be able to lead a team and be the best player and win a championship?
He don't count. You can't. You're right. You're right.
So, like, is this really a window for the Cavaliers? Like, I'm not even trying to take away from what they've done, and I don't think that they couldn't win the championship, but I don't think this is a window because I don't think that this is sustainable. The only thing that will make this sustainable is if Mobley continues to take quantum leaps in the way that he took this season.
Yeah.
And that could happen, maybe, but I would not put money on that. Not enough for them to have a 3 to 5 year window of being like legit contenders. Hell, we don't even know if they're legit contenders yet. We just know they're having a really good season. So
We'll see.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Also, Zach Lavine in Sacramento, how do we feel about that?
So it's a weird team construction, right? Because you got Monk, you got Lavine, you got Sabonis,
DeRozan.
you got DeRozan, but the question is now DeRozan said he was going to see what happened with Fox and decide what he wanted to do. So does this, I mean, I think Lavine having some familiarity with DeRozan like may help, but also like what is the ceiling for this roster? And is Lavine your number one guy?
I think Sabonis is your number one. I think
Your number one.
You go point guardless, essentially like how Denver does, and make him your point forward, and you just have Zach, DeMar, Malik, and then what? Who's the
You got Keegan still?
who?
Yeah, Keegan's still there.
Keegan, yep, I was gonna say Keegan, and that's your 5. That's not a terrible idea.
It's just like it's small ball. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that would hurt. I think they move fast. They get threes up. DeMar.
They do.
Like
They get how many years? I don't think this is sustainable. I don't think this looks good next year.
Sustainable? No, it's not winning either. But it's like the best that they've got right now. So like
I think De'Aaron needs it in his hands too much. I think guys like Zach and DeMar DeMar less. So DeMar will get you in the half court, but having guys like Zach and Keegan run corner and just like make it more fast paced, I don't mind that. Not that De'Aaron didn't make it fast paced, but
I think this group gives them the ability to stretch the floor a lot more. So if you are in those one-on-one sets, you have playmakers that can really do something when they're, in an ISO situation. So It's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't think it's sustainable. It's not winning basketball for sure.
Fun in theory. It's not ethical, you're saying?
It's
I don't think it's unethical. I mean, it's just
like a Mike D'Antoni offense. That's what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
I
I
think
believe.
wait, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I believe in the Mike D'Antoni offense.
Um, I think Sacramento has put themselves in a position to experiment this season. Like, obviously, you decide you're going to move on from a player like Fox. It's kind of like, well, okay, whatever return you get, you just kind of see what happens this season. So, if this has some magic to it and it works, and they're in the play in, and maybe they lose in the play in, maybe they make the playoffs. Who knows, right? But you're not winning anything significant. That's the point. But you go into the offseason, now you can make the decision, are we rolling with this roster or are we deciding to, pivot? They don't necessarily have to rebuild. You can still probably get a relatively decent haul for Sabonis. I think you could get a arguably relatively decent haul for Monk, depending on where he goes. If you're deciding to blow it up, right? But maybe Monk is a piece that stays. I don't think you get as much for DeRozan, but if DeRozan wants out, then see what you can get, right? But I think they won't decide until the offseason what the future will look like. And I think a lot of that will be determined by how much they invest in Sabonis. Because Sabonis is kind of like he's in his peak prime, I think. Like, I think we're in the midst of the best that Sabonis is going to be. So do they commit for the tail end of that, whatever that looks like? Or do they decide to start fresh? I think that's going to end up being the major question for them this offseason.
Ooh.
My
Well, yes, Super Bowl weekend.
No, we still gotta we before we get to the Super Bowl, bro. Them reserves, man. I know you're gonna be upset. I know you are upset already.
No, no, man, I'm totally fine.
You're
They totally
fine.
Yeah, it's worn off. I mean,
absurd.
it's an eye roll, but
Any other fun guard
I mean,
for
yeah,
me?
with the trade news, it kind of got overshadowed. But just for the record, just so it's stated, the Eastern Conference reserves are Damian Lillard, Darius Garland, Jalen Brown, Cade Cunningham, Tyler Hero, Evan Mobley, and Pascal Siakam. So,
where's LaMelo Ball?
so there is no LaMelo at all on the All-Star team. There is no Trey Young at all on the All-Star team.
Anti-fun.
I
DNF, no fun league.
No fun league.
So I don't necessarily think that DG is undeserving of this All-Star nod. I don't think that. But I do think that Trey and LaMelo are easily having better years than DG and Tyler Hero. And also if LaMelo is the lead vote getter, I'm still trying to understand how that didn't at least solidify him as a reserve. Because what did
Everything, like he was like fifth or fourth in the players vote, and then seventh in.
He led this position though.
he led guards in voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like that's sickening. 30 points, one leg threes, and
So
circus layups. 30 points.
you missed out on Jello performing. Like,
Man, what?
that would have been crazy.
welcome to the Super Bowl episode. This is about to be a great episode. We're about to get down to the nitty gritty of what's about to get down the gridiron. So tune in. We're about to get into it. Boom. And now it looks like that's the beginning of the episode. They get in here. Molly Wop basketball.
Right.
Chiefs or Eagles? Who y'all got?
I know how these games go. It's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be riveting. Kendrick is gonna come out, have a great concert. SZA is gonna be fantastic. Oh my god, it's gonna be heaven for those 20 minutes. Then I had to get back to a close game in which I will unfortunately see Saquon Barkley run for 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. They're up. I don't know what 5 touchdowns would amount to at that point, but 48-42. Oh no. 30 seconds left. Here comes Patrick Mahomes. He Batista bombs the ref. He's blind. He's going to go for a run. He's 10 yards out of bounds. Somehow gets back in bounds. Runs down to the goal line. Tackled. 1 second left. They didn't see him go out. They have no challenges left. For some reason, they don't review it within the last 2 minutes. Tush push. Pat Mahomes. 50-48. Chiefs win it. We go home. Taylor Swift is on the field. Everyone's having a great time.
Patty for MVP?
Yes. One of his future 20 Super Bowl MVPs that he racks up in his career. I'm ready to watch it again. I'd love to say that we lose to the Super Bowl champions, but I don't know. If there is a team to do it, it's a team with this, run offense. Can they weaken the Chiefs defense and get them tired enough throughout the game? That's my hope. But seeing the story 1,000 times.
You
And
make
then
it
the
sound
Monday
like
after. Oh, go ahead.
you make it sound like Mahomes is just unbeatable. Like you might
He
as well
is,
not even show
is
up.
God in bod. He is
No.
he is the I've never seen somebody go untouched. So 6 straight Super Bowls or something similar, something like that.
Yo, the
Come on.
2020 draft class for the Chiefs have never played a season in which they didn't get to the Super Bowl. Talk about spoiled. That's crazy. You get drafted in 2022 and you've played an entire NFL season through the Super Bowl since being drafted. It's 2025. That's crazy. Trent McDuffie, he doesn't know what it's like to not play through the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's insane. That is.
I don't that's
I do have the I have the Chiefs though solely because they just haven't been beat. So yeah, I cannot choose against them. It would not be wise. Do think Mahomes takes home another MVP. So yeah.
I will say, I'm taking the Chiefs, but it's only so I can curse them. It's only so that I jinx it. I'm truly like, if my prediction is going to the Eagles, but like I'm saying it on here to clip. I think the Chiefs are gonna win. So what's the record in terms of our playoff count too? Because I think we lost track. But I believe with my Commanders win a couple of episodes ago, I'm back on top or at least tied for the lead. So
I think we're tied because we were what? I was 5-1 and you were 4-2. Were you both 4-2?
yep.
Were we? Okay.
Going into divisional. So what? The Lions beat the Commanders beat the Lions. Let's see. The Eagles beat the Rams.
And I think I chose the Rams, if I'm being honest. I think I did.
So I definitely lost 2 that weekend because I chose the Lions and I also chose the Ravens. I think we all chose the Ravens.
We did. Yeah.
Okay. So that would have put me at what, 7-3? I'm still ahead.
Oh.
Because we're at 6 and no. No, you guys are tied, right?
Commanders, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you
didn't
did.
get Commanders right. So y'all are tied.
Yeah.
And I'm 6 and
So then I'm choosing the Eagles. This is where I split away, but I'm choosing the Chiefs to win.
right. But you got to say it with your chest. If it isn't directed, it's not respect.
Right. I believe the Chiefs will win in terms of the clip. Okay, all right, so I just say it on my chest. I think the Eagles are going to win. I'm choosing the Eagles to win. Please Please. I mean, the episode of Abbott Elementary would be so much better if they did. I mean, if they lost, Shementi would absolutely go nuts, and that'd be great. Yeah, but it. Please, just once. Can we have something good during our month? Could we have just
So
one?
would you rather see Jalen and Saquon get their first ring than the three?
Saquon's the man this year. It would just be poetic. Like he hurdled the man backwards. Give the Super Bowl ring to him. He's deserved this year. Like when Pat was doing no look passes, yes, he was the man. But this year has been, some stale party tricks, some men in black and white somehow, favoring some calls here and there. Can we just let the man,
I'm not gonna lie, like I wish I could root for Saquon without the Eagles winning. That would make it so much easier for me.
But you can because
Can't.
just think about the greater good. Think about the greater good. Think about who supports who in this world and in what things and who you want to root for on that day.
You want me to root for a division rival? That's like you rooting for the Lions. You rooting for the
not
Lions.
even a rival. Like they're a part of our conference, but it's like our rivals are the Bears because they suck, and then Minnesota because they had Brett Favre for a little bit. The Lions, it's like cool. You're representing the NFC North at that point.
He's lying, Ashley.
It's a bitter rival. Exactly.
I'm not like, hold on now. Like, even though I did choose the Commanders to beat them, and I didn't want the NFC North to all go out in a blazing fiery crash. Should not be saying those words this week. But
yeah. And you're hinged.
That was just
that would have gone over a lot of people's heads if you didn't.
Yeah, but for those that are watching and at this time, I should be forthcoming for those that caught it. I digress. I chose the Commanders because they were the better team, and I thought that they were hotter. And if the Lions made it to the Super Bowl, like I said, free V's tape, and happy that they could represent our conference being the best in the NFL, even though it didn't shake out this year. Root for the Eagles this year because for us, for our sake, for what's going on, for the good, for the greater good.
I would be denounced
as
a Giants fan if I root for the Eagles.
You're rooting for Saquon to get a ring. You're not necessarily rooting for the Eagles. You're rooting for a former Giant that you drafted proudly as a great player, and your scouts did the hard labor and saw that he was what he was, and you want to be recognized for that no matter what team he's on. So you should get that credit and show that he helped get a ring.
Did it? Miguel, didn't you just say that Minnesota was only our rivals because they had Brett Favre for a little bit?
Did you root for Brett Favre? No.
But Brett Favre was stealing from who was he stealing from again? He did that.
Welfare, Mississippi welfare recipient.
That was after his playing time, was it not?
But I knew in my heart of hearts that he had that in him. And he was a harasser as well, right when he got to the Jets, which was before Minnesota. So at that point, it was just who he was as a human. But
yeah, Landon, this ain't going nowhere. The woman,
no, on it.
You don't want to root for the Eagles.
I can't.
No, she's rooting for Saquon, and he did nothing wrong. He's a great human being. He's not Brett Favre. That's the difference in this.
I can't root for Saquon though. I wish I could. I'm very happy that he's having success.
Saquon Barkley in person, you're not saying, "Hey, Saquon, how you doing?" Like, dude.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell him, I'm a Giants fan. I'm not mad you left. I'm happy you got your money. I love seeing you thrive. Just couldn't root for you.
And then he says, would you like to go out for drinks? You're saying no because you're a Giants fan.
Hey, Miguel, you're sick. You're sick.
How far does this go?
I saw the line at them raising a championship banner in Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where I draw the line.
You're saying that you would decline drinks. you would say
No,
nay.
that's Saquon, the person. We're talking about me rooting for him as
So you okay?
platonically, I would go and get drinks.
Okay. So
Platonic.
you said we're not having no joyful times.
No, he has kids and like a lady and stuff.
I
And
didn't know
he's not my
Saquon had
type,
kids.
honestly.
I didn't know all this. Sorry to put you in that spot, Saquon.
I did not
Didn't
know he had kids.
thought you know.
So understood. We got
Yep, he's got kids.
anyway.
Handful and
Look,
handful.
right. Like, that's our
Yeah, a handful of kids for those that aren't gang.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, that's been our take on the Super Bowl. Sorry, I call
Black
it a
History
Kendrick
Week.
concert. But so until next episode and until next time, we'll catch y'all.
The mannequin challenge.
I can't tell if this is real, if I'm frozen,
No,
or
you're not.
oh, okay.
We all were once again.
Cry it. Bye, y'all. We'll catch y'all. So, peace.